Welcome back to Amateur Game Review, the gaming channel where I'm super qualified to give you my opinion because I have a microphone and the internet, and I'm pretty sure that's all you need. Alright, today we're going to be talking about Bloodstained Circle of the Moon. Now, some of you may know what this game is. Some of you may have just said, I know what Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is, but I've never heard of Circle of the Moon. So let me just explain what that is real quickly. To do so, let's hop back to the mid to late 1990s real quick to Castlevania Symphony of the Night, what some people call one of the greatest games ever made. There was a man on the team that made that game who eventually became the lead of that team, named Koji Igarashi. He then went on to make most, if not all, of the Metroidvania style of Castlevanias for the Game Boy Advance before leaving Konami. Fast forward to more recent times, and he has started his own studio, and like most small studios, he went to Kickstarter to back his first game. Now, the game that he went to Kickstarter for was Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which to nobody's surprise got all of the funding that it needed because he is a very well celebrated game creator and he was promising a spiritual successor to Castlevania Symphony of the Night. However, the important thing to us today is one of the stretch goals that was met, a stretch goal being if the game received enough funding they would also do this extra thing, they would make an 8-bit style game in the vein of the early Castlevania trilogy for NES titled Circle of the Moon. And that's what we're talking about. So that little bit of history lesson behind us, let's actually hop into the game. Okay, now the big thing with this game is it pays so much homage and respect to those early Castlevanias, mainly Castlevania 3. That is evident in everything from the 8-bit art style to the music selection to the way that the game is played, including that really tough old school NES difficulty at times. Now graphically, some people love the look of old NES. I happen to, for the most part, be one of those people, and they pretty much nailed the look of this game. It looks beautiful. It looks like it could have been an NES game if the NES had a lot more power. I mean, it's a lot flashier, there's a lot more going on, there's no stutter, no slowdown, like some of the stuff that you would have seen. And at times there can be a lot going on in this game. The one thing that isn't so faithful to the original Castlevanias graphically would be some of the bosses. They look more anime than like 8-bit gothic, which is kind of what the whole Castlevania series was about. But that's just kind of nitpicky. Overall, the graphics look really good. I was really impressed. And that leads us into gameplay. And some people would say that this is straight Castlevania, down to the T, down to the way that the platforming works, the way that the jumping works, the moves that you use, the knockback when you get hit, all of that. Now, if you loved those original Castlevanias, this is amazing. I mean, it's just like playing what would have been the next installment in the series. Or even just a more polished version of Castlevania 3, which this game takes heavily from. If you love a good difficulty, you love a nice old retro style game, this gameplay is for you. It is fun, it's difficult, but it's very rewarding. Now let's talk about the story and the characters. Now the story follows the main character, Zangetsu, who is a cursed demon hunter. He has vowed to go wherever demons are and basically put an end to them. So he is drawn to this castle to kill any demon inside. Story-wise, that's pretty much it, but honestly, that's really all you need. That's more than you would have gotten in 90% of the older NES-style games. And to be honest, it's really not why you're playing this game. You're playing this game for just the fun retro factor, basically. But tied heavily into the story is the characters, and this is where the game really shines. In your first playthrough as Zangetsu, after you beat each of the bosses in the first 3 stages, you will encounter another character. Now you have options here. You can ignore the character, you can kill the character and take its powers, or you can add the character to your roster. And the 2 latter options add so much flexibility and optional play styles that are just so fun to work with. Now Zangetsu is your basic sword user. He's got a sword, he deals pretty good damage, he's got a lot of health, and he's got basic sub-weapons. The first extra character that you encounter is Miriam, who's actually the main character from Ritual of the Night. She is more of your standard Castlevania character as she actually uses a whip. Miriam's fun because she can jump higher, and she has some super strong sub-weapons like the axe that does a ton of damage. The third character you come across is Alfred, and I don't know his actual title, but he's basically like a mage. He's got very low health, and his melee attack is terrible, but he's got some really good sub-weapons. Like, he can do things like freeze enemies, and then you can use them as platforms, or you can do extra damage to the frozen enemies, or he can put like a fire barrier around himself, and anything that gets near you will get damaged. The fourth and final character, Jebel, which is basically just an Alucard from Castlevania 3 ripoff, is a vampire. He throws bats at like sort of an upward arc, and he can transform into a bat, and he can fly around. And the best thing about all these characters is, with just the push of a button, R1 or L1, you can instantly cycle through any of them. And it opens up so much options, whether it be combat or level traversal, which we haven't talked about yet, but the levels are very, very well designed, especially when you have all those characters, because Miriam can do a slide on the ground so she can go under obstacles, and Jebel can fly so you can go alternate routes, and there are a ton of alternate routes. That alone makes this game very replayable. But that's not the best part. The best part is how replayable this game actually is. And I did not expect this from a companion game that you basically got for free if you supported the Kickstarter, or you got really cheap anywhere. It's available basically everywhere. And that is, there are so many game modes, and they revolve around your decisions with the characters. Now, you start off with two basic game modes, casual and veteran. Now, veteran is your standard old school playthrough style. The game is very hard, very challenging, very rewarding. You have things like knockback, where if an enemy hits you, you do bounce backwards, which can cause a ton of problems. Knockback doesn't sound like a big deal until you get hit while you're jumping and you fall in a hole and instantly die. But it's the standard way. If you've played any of the old NES Castlevanias, it's exactly how you would have played those games. Now, casual basically takes away all the difficulty. There is no knockback. You do extra damage, you take less damage, and you have unlimited lives. But then we get to the two best game modes that you can unlock by beating the game. If you go through the game and you recruit all three of the extra characters and you beat the game, you then unlock Nightmare Mode. And Nightmare Mode is awesome. I won't say any spoilers, but basically you get to go back through the castle and you have the extra three characters from the start. And that opens up so many possibilities that you didn't have through the first few levels, and then at the end you get to fight an extra boss. Now, one thing I didn't say earlier was that if you decide to kill the extra characters when you meet them instead of recruiting them, Zangetsu actually gains abilities. So like, if you kill Miriam, you get a double jump. So if you kill all three extra characters, Zangetsu gets super powerful, but you don't have those other three characters to lean on, so it's a trade-off. However, if you kill and absorb all three characters' abilities, and then you beat the game as just Zangetsu, you unlock the Ultimate Mode, which is just the best way to play this game, because Zangetsu is super powerful anyway because he has all these abilities now. And in Ultimate Mode, you get to be super powerful Zangetsu, and you get all three of your companions, and it is just so much fun. Like, the enemies are harder and everything, but you are so much better as a team, plus you've been playing this long, so you've gotten really good at the game. The last thing I basically want to talk about is the music. Now, this is just a personal preference, but I absolutely loved the music. It felt old school to me, it felt Castlevania to me, it was spot on, it was great. And it's just something I could just listen to. I think that it was amazing music in every level, and I absolutely enjoyed it. But what are my final thoughts? Basically, they are super simple. If you love retro games and you love old school Castlevania, you will love this game. You will absolutely love this game. This is one of the better pre-Metroidvania style of Castlevanias that I've ever played. I had a great time with this. However, if you don't like Castlevania, if you're not a fan of it, you won't like this game at all, because it does nothing different than what the other Castlevanias did. Other than the extra game modes and the replayability, it's basically a Castlevania game, so if that's not your style, you're not going to like it. So, with all that in mind, I give it a number score of an 8.7. I really, really enjoyed this game, and if it sounds like something that you would like, pick it up. Pick it up and give it a try. It's cheap everywhere. It's just an absolutely fun time, and it's not long at all. You could beat this game in easily one setting, if not just an hour or two. But what did you guys think? You're part of the amateur family. Your opinion matters just as much as mine, so why don't you let me know down in the comments below. And if you like this video and you've also liked what we've been doing, don't forget to like and subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you want to keep up to date with all the things that we've been doing. As always, I will leave our social media links down in the description below. That is the best way to get a hold of me or one of the other co-hosts, and we absolutely love hearing from you guys, so, don't be afraid to do that. But I guess that's all from me. So until the next time, guys.